to again thank everyone and welcome you all back. Thanks for coming back. The fact that we're about to hit 90 online right now on a sunny Saturday afternoon in most of Atlantic Canada is incredible, and is just a testament to the the level of coach that we have on and your interest in continual learning. So I'm just so thankful to all of you. I'm now going to turn it over to the longtime president of our organization, which is the Canadian Sports Centre Atlantic, Ken Bagnall, to say a few words.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final session of the 2021 Atlantic Coaches Conference. I want to especially thank at this time the organizing committee, who's created such a great array of engaging and important topics for the conference. And I hope all of you will continue to engage your provincial coaching coordinators and those involved in this conference to follow up on some of these topics and continue your journey of continuous learning. I'm so impressed by the numbers that have been involved all weekend so far, and I look forward to this last presentation as well. So without further ado, I'll send it over to Mike Hudson to introduce our final speaker.
Thanks, Ken. As you see, I'm sat at Barnsley Football Club, Kenneth, and that's my hometown, and we just beat Rotherham today, so we're potentially in the playoffs, so for the Premiership, so that's really exciting for me.
Congratulations.
I want to thank, first I want to thank Danny Worthington, who is a former staff member with Kenneth, with the Canadian Women's National Team, who was able to connect me to Kenneth, and he's a big friend of mine, and he's actually my son's godfather. But it was great to have someone of this level at our conference. One of the benefits of COVID, we can have amazing people from around the world present at our conference. So without further ado, I'll introduce Kenneth. His resume is extensive. He was hired by the Canadian Soccer's Women's National Team head coach after John Herdman and the National Excel program in January of 2018, after which he posted an international record of 20 wins, 5 draws, and 10 losses. During his tenure as head coach, he qualified Canada for the FIFA World Cup in France and the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, with second place finishes at the 2018 Concacaf Women's Championship in 2020. As an assistant coach with the women's national team under John Herdman, he helped Canada win bronze in Rio in the Olympic Games. For arriving in Canada, Kenneth worked with Team Denmak, an organization equivalent to Own the Podium, as head of competence and talent development. More recently, in 2020, he returned to his native Denmark, where he to go back to the Danish Football Association as head of coach education, started in the fall of 2020. He had previously served as Denmark's women's national team head coach from 2006 to 2013, leading the team to a bronze medal at the UEFA Women's Euro 2013. So without further ado, Kenneth holds a master's in science and psychology and is a minor in exercise and sport sciences. So quite a smart guy too. So I'm going to hand over to Kenneth. We're very excited to have you with us, Kenneth, and hopefully one day you can visit our lovely province of Nova Scotia and enjoy what is an amazing place. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the introduction, Michael. And congratulations on the playoffs to the Premier League. Yeah, when you talk about everything in your presentation or introduction to me, still bothers me we didn't want to win one of these finals against the US, but someday under different leadership it will happen. We are almost there. So anyway, well, I'll share my screen here, and then I hope that the technology will work. If it doesn't, I expect someone to give me some kind of heads up. Yeah, I believe it does. So yeah, just to thank everyone for the presentation. I've been in some of them, which has been great. It's a great way of connecting, of course, in Nova Scotia, but also in connecting to other parts of the country and even all the way to Europe. It's been great to sit in to some of them. Also a little bit provoked by fear of actually ending this conference with all the great presentations that have been. I also just want to congratulate the organizers of this. It's been a great experience to actually to be a part of, and in these weird times, this is what is needed. So thank you very much for having me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk a little bit around, because I'm not too good at sitting down and giving presentations. So I'm going to walk around a little bit, presenting a little bit on the screen, but you can just look at your screen. So preparing for this presentation on impactful leadership, I decided that I didn't want to make it too theoretical, because I'm not smart enough to do a theory on leadership, and that would just be boring. Then I didn't want to make it all about the national team only, because that would be maybe a little bit anecdotal, and I didn't want it to be about me, because that might be too self-centered. So I decided it would be about all three of them. So this presentation will be boring, anecdotal, and self-centered. So now the expectations are low, I guess. So what I want to do is speak a little bit about impactful leadership and what that means to me. And to set the tone, I want to do is introduce this guy. He's a Dane. He's called Sven Brinkmann, and he's a professor of psychology. What he has been doing is he's been kind of creating a new approach on how to see yourself. And in Denmark, do have this quote about "you are your own happiness craftsman." This about you create your own destiny, and it's a lot of responsibility to give to someone who might be unsuccessful or unhappy at either during their life or at the end of their life. So what he's created, and a book I got very inspired by, is this one. It's, if you translate it, it's "we are the life we live," and it's much more relational, going into like interdependent, so that you become the life you live. It's more on who you meet, how you meet them. It's destiny more than anything, and it takes some of the responsibility away. And I'm pretty inspired by that. I'm also inspired, and this is I listened into some of the conversation just before we went online, and I think it was Jean-Francois who said something about having a growth mindset and don't stay stagnant. And that's exactly what this book is about. It's about, sometimes I feel like coaches, teachers, whoever have some kind of career planning, just want to move on, just want to go forward. Where is my next job? And this is more about, just be good at what you're doing, be very good at what you're doing. And then, if you grow these roots, you might be great enough to actually move on. So be good at what you're doing instead of having a career plan ahead of you. But I'm inspired by this guy, especially this about the interdependency. And so this is what I want to talk a little bit about, this new approach. So the presentation will take me around 3 concepts or events, experiences I've had that have had a massive impact on my life and on my leadership as well. These concepts are like labels, and from my perspective, that's important to know the experience and the events that inspired me in who I am, and also then in what leadership I bring in. I do think that you can learn from books and read them. I read it all the time, and I encourage anyone to do that's got some interest. I also think that if you reflect on some of the experiences that you have actually been in and getting inspired by, that's something you can put in your backpack, and also when you become a leader. So what I will do, I'll take a little detour to show you my view on impactful leadership. Now, sometimes I might just ask a question, and it'll be more for you to reflect on that, to reply. There is time at the end for sure to ask some questions. When I've been sitting in, this around having a dialogue is great. I think both for the presenter and for the one listening in. So anyway, a little detour. So for me, I've got 3 labels. One is passion. When I go through the different kind of events that have led to this being a major concept for me, you might say that it's success. It's not about passion, it's about success, but it's not. For me, it's pure passion. Passion is what drives me every single day. And I've been fortunate enough for my entire work life to work on the game, like football, soccer, or to work on developing and development. So my passion is something I need to have in my job. I've been fortunate to have in my job, but also something that's been created with me throughout my life. The second thing is something about the curiosity, being curious. So my wife says that I am, I just want to move on. I don't want to stand still. But it's actually not true. I do want to stand still. I do want to learn, but I'm very, very curious about so many things. I think that's something that have brought me where I am. It's also something that will bring me wherever I want to go without me having made any kind of career plan, but I'm curious about so many things. I want to show you also something about the curiosity I have about the game, because I think that's important for my leadership as well. And then the last thing is about the people first. So that is me. What you get is me interested in you as a person. I do not care what kind of position you have. That is not important for me. I do have met people who say, well, you should respect me, or they should respect me. I am this, I am that. Well, I respect you for who you are and not for what you are. And that's me going into every single kind of meeting, any kind of group discussion. That is, I want to know you. I don't want to know, who you are. I want to know, who you are. That's important for me. So people first, always. And those 3 are my kind of labels. And this is actually how I see it. This is about impactful leadership is supported massively by these 3 labels or concepts to me. So it's not values, it's not verbs, it's not nouns, but it's some concepts that are important to me. And some concepts that I've lived, learned through my life. And I'll just give you some of that insight, and maybe and hopefully that could inspire you as well in your leadership, because I do believe that what you've experienced is what forms you to become the person and then the leader you are. So I'm going to take you through this. This is some kind of pictures that I've created. I'm going to go through all the different kind of pictures. What you see up here is some kind of, a timeline, if you want to call that, from the 80s. So I'm not going to do a historical review at all, but I'm going to go through some of the experience, again, that formed me, not just to tell you what formed me as a leader, but also hopefully to inspire you to, go back in time and see what actually inspired you to become the leader you are. So starting with this, Argentina 78. So I'm born in 71. So I was 7 years old when the World Cup was in Argentina. I played in a small club. Back then, if you went to a game in Denmark, there was about 500 spectators, and the intensity wasn't massive, to be quite honest. It was like going, and I think the saying was that you could pass around a little bag of gummy bears, and when it was all around the stadium, there was still going to be gummy bears in the package. So there wasn't too many spectators on the stands. But when I watched the World Cup and the World Cup final in '78, I fell in love with the game. I still get the goosebumps when I speak about it, because I experienced it again. So 71 was crazy. It was in Argentina. Latin America, totally different. The way they see the game, they feel the game. The final was against Netherlands against Argentina. Going to the World Cup, you didn't know too many of the players because the broadcasting wasn't the best. But this final, I remember lying on my grandparents' floor and watching this final, with the toilet paper coming down from the stands and all the confetti happening and the intensity of the game. And I was in love. I was super much in love with the game. That was my first experience with really falling in love with the game of soccer. And then in '95, I made my first move abroad to play for a club in Hungary called Ferencváros. So going into Hungary at that time, which was in 94, I believe, not 95, but 94. Just to give you a little insight, it was definitely not. It didn't have the best of reputations in Europe. It was an East European country. You didn't really know anything about the regimes. If I'm just showing you here, if you don't know, like Hungary is here. I know this is just about the Warsaw Pact and all that, but just so you know, Czechoslovakia, Romania, and the former Soviet Union. So in 91, the Russian soldiers left Hungary, and I was there in 94. So 91 was, the Cold War ended, the war was broken down and all that, and I arrived there just 3 years later. And when we played, I played for the People's Club. That's what they say. Like that was the working class. They went to Ferencváros because when the World War II ended, the Communist Party took over the country in Hungary, and Újpest, who was also a club in Budapest, they became officially the club for the police. MTK Budapest became officially the club for the secret police. That's kind of funny, like officially the club for the secret police. Anyway, and then Kispest was officially the club for the army. So if you think back and you go into Eastern Europe and you have like Russians actually being very much involved in club, and then 3 years before I arrived, the Russian troops left Hungary. When we played these matches, it was super intense. I know you're not supposed to mix politics and soccer, but if you live in a country like that, you experience what they've experienced, it's hard. It's definitely hard. So we didn't just play a different team. We played, somebody who has actually been against you, against the people. Like every time we stepped on the pitch, again, the passion on the stands was amazing. What some of my teammates brought, because they've had grandparents or whatever, that was a part of being under the communist regime. It wasn't just a soccer match. It was much more than that. Yeah, so I just brought we did play CSKA Moscow and we won. That was kind of a big experience. So then also this, just to give you a little insight in again, some of the experiences and the events that formed me and my passion for the game. So in 1992, the Euros was going to happen. The Euros for the men was going to happen in Sweden, and Denmark didn't qualify. So they lost to Yugoslavia in the qualification, like massively. Yugoslavia had a fantastic team, but 10 days prior to this tournament started, Yugoslavia was left out of the tournament because of the war in Yugoslavia. So UEFA decided to ban them from the tournament, and the Danish team was called in, like literally. And that's a movie I guess you can watch on Netflix as well in Canada, called the Summer of 1992. And then the Danes went in and they won. That was crazy. So we haven't had a lot of success in Denmark. So the semi-final and the final was shown every single year in 20 years between Christmas and New Year. And like when you watched it again, it's the slowest of games you can ever see. But it gathered the Danish people like nothing else. So this is the city center square. Maybe this stopped working. Well, anyway, here it is, city center square, like full of people. I was there as well, just celebrating the team coming back. Like this guy, like mainly responsible for Denmark actually winning. So again, the mood around this game, this event as well, about passion. And then just two quick things after this to like at Sweden. I was there as a coach. We ended up winning a bronze medal. We won the quarterfinal on penalties against France. We lost the semifinals against Norway on penalties, but we came home with a bronze medal. And then more something that resonate with you, like the Rio 2016, being at the Rio Games and experiencing what this meant to players, but more also what medals meant to a country like Canada. Like this could like literally inspire players, inspire girls, inspire a nation to watch a team. Also the individuals, I'm not saying a team sport is better than an individual, but watching a team together actually winning a bronze medal. And to be a part of that is definitely something that, with all the other events I've just been speaking about, is about the passion for the game, and the game being so much more than just 11v11. When you are there, when you play or when you coach and you watch the spectators, you can see what the game brings to them. And that's something that gives me so much passion in my work. So that's the passion piece, and what actually created that, and the events that formed that for me as a person, and also me as a leader. Then there is the people first bit. So when I started to go to university and take psychology, psychology was more like looking into your past and how can we just make your life livable and all that stuff. But there was a new era, the postmodern era, that was more into actually solving what you were in, actually looking up opportunities, being more like separating the problem from the person. Again, if you go back a little bit and think about what I said about Sven Brinkmann, it's exactly that, like separating some of the things we give to individuals, say that's for you to actually deal with. We separated that, and we did that also. I learned that when we were in when I was in university, and then I went on to become a psychologist in a municipality where we met with teachers, foster parents, family with problems and everything. And I just experienced this about, again, when you meet a teacher, you meet a person that's actually a very good person on teaching. If you meet a foster parent, you meet a person who's actually also a foster parent. And again, for me, it's the people first. You don't meet a parent, you don't meet a teacher, you don't meet a foster parent, you don't meet a kid with a diagnosis. You meet a child, or you meet a person, and that's the most important thing to me. So people first before anything else. And this film, I love this movie, the fantastic Robin Williams, the Patch Adams, just encompass what I mean about it. Like, he says it about, you treat a disease, you win, you lose. You treat a person, I guarantee you win no matter what the outcome. So again, the focus on the person, the individual, not on the diagnosis, not on the disease, but on the person. That's definitely something that I brought with me since I got my degree. And then I don't want to speak too much about Team Denmak, but I do want to speak about this, the curiosity piece. Again, I am in the game of soccer. You are in games of volleyball or individual sport. I've seen a lot of volleyball coaches actually on some of the sessions, and also soccer coaches. Obviously, for me, the game of soccer is the most exciting one. So hopefully, you can mirror this into your own sport. But this about the game and how the game evolves, and the curiosity of actually analyzing, looking at the game and how it develops. It's what consistently drives my curiosity. So again, if you look into the Euros in 2008, I was there only as a spectator. I watched Spain play twice, and it was a fantastic team with Iniesta, with Xavi, Xavi Alonso, all those that actually made this kind of passion for possession happening. That was the headline when I read the technical report. The team one that had the passion for possession. Now, 450 passes per game. That was the average they did for the tournament. It was nuts. It was crazy. No one had made 450 passes and then won as well. So that was, it was unheard of. And then this happened in 2020. So now we got like 6 teams with 600 plus passes. You got Liverpool, who won the Champions League, with 695 passes. And of course, I needed to put a picture in of Alfonso. So I know this, it's been like 12 years. I know you compare national team to a club team, but it's not what's going on in the game of football at the minute, or the game of soccer. And it's evolving all the time. There's so many things that's interesting to go into bits and details of. This is something I love about the game as well, about the open skill set and the closed skill set. There is almost, you never receive the same kind of pass. You never receive or in the same situation. There's always something that's different, which is so much over in the open skill set as well. And then just the complexity of the game, which is interesting to me as well. So I don't know if you know that, but Lego is Danish. And they got something called a Lego house, which is an amazing place where you go in and you actually just, you play, which is great for grown-ups and kids as well. But they got this, and one of my friends shows this picture all the time when he wanted to compare the complex game of soccer and then Lego. So this is actually, so all of these are something that put together different kinds of doing these 5 blocks. And this is the amount of different kind of ways that you can actually put these blocks together. And for me, that's kind of, it mirrors the game of football because it's so complex. The game is so complex, it's got so many nuances, so many different scenarios. Set pieces is almost, minimal if you compare to other sports. You do have throw-ins, but it's on different lengths of the pitch. You do have corners, maybe 5 or 6 per game. You do have goal kicks, maybe 5 or 6 per game as well. But more often than not, the game is alive and it's complex. If you add to that the speed, the agility, I know that's across all sports. But then, being curious about what's the next thing? What is the next thing that's going to happen to this game? Or how can you impact this game? That drives me definitely very much as well. So all these things kind of inspires me, kind of for me is what sits underneath my impactful leadership. All the events that I've been through, again, you are the life you live. This is, just a snapshot or a quick brief of my life, but what I bring into my life, what I bring into my leadership role is this about passion, the curiosity, and the people first. And I think that's important. Maybe something also you could get inspired from that, actually going back and see, so what events have made you who you are, but what events have inspired you to become who you are and the leader you are? Are there something in there? So going from that into impactful leadership. So what's sit underneath my impactful leaderships are those 3 labels, notions, whatever you want to call them, and then speak about impactful leadership. Because this is what's happened, right? So I had been in a leading role for 10 years, I guess, and then I became an assistant. All of a sudden, I think in 2017, during Christmas, I was in Denmark celebrating Christmas, and all of a sudden things happened very, very quickly. And January 6th or 7th, I was announced a head coach, and John moved on to coach them. And this is where one of my questions to you, just to reflect on, comes in. So, what would you do in this situation? So. Obviously, it's a massive opportunity, but what's the most important thing for you to do right now? So you've been an assistant, now you become a head coach. What are you doing? So I didn't do what I was supposed to do, for sure. So I'm not right, and all the other leaders are wrong. But John was a very different leader than me, like, again, not wrong and me right, or the other way around, not better, not worse, not anything, but he was very different than me. And the easiest part to do, because the entire group wanted it, was to lead the way he has been leading. So to step in from my assistant coach role into the head coach role, and then continuing the leadership role that he had been leading with, which was very much him, like very much him. I did that for a couple of months, and then I sat back, I reflected a little bit, and then I think it's like all other crafts. If you've been away from, you know, fixing cars or being a plumber. It takes time to get back. I think that was happened to me as well as a leader. It took me some time to get back, to knock the rust off. But when I did that, I was more than ready for sure. So these were the people I was supposed to lead. I didn't only become a head coach, I also became a technical director. And then all of a sudden, going from being a colleague of them, I'm still a colleague of them, but also their leader was definitely something that was different. Again, it took me a while, a couple of months, but then we got it. I still remember a year from then, we had our annual meeting, and I challenged every one of them because I wanted to play in a very, very specific way during the World Cup. And they were hesitant. They said, we don't think like they'll get injured, they can't cope. This is very new for them in the mindset to actually be so much owning the ball and controlling the matches so much. But you know, everyone just supported. It was great. And what a group of people, by the way. What a group of people. Does any one of these guys that at any time needs some kind of support from me, they'll get it any day. But also I got this opportunity to actually take this group to the World Cup, which was fantastic. So many great players, but great persons, great characters, great people as well, which was so important to me, which you know. So what I did was, after a few months, I know I needed to lead the staff. I know I needed to lead the team, but I wanted to make sure that, so I didn't sit back and said, what is impactful leadership? But it kind of fits into the theme of this conference, because that was exactly what I did. I sat back and I reflected on my leadership. And it's important to say that this is not a recipe. This is just what impactful leadership is to me. This is something we've been building in Canada Soccer for a long period of time. I took a little bit in my direction about a winning formula, because at the end of the day, if you're a coach in a high performance environment, you need to win. I didn't win as many matches as I wanted to, but on the same, I'll say we were preparing for the Olympics for 6 months, and we were great. But anyway, so there's this about chemistry, which is important. Just briefly, I'll go through chemistry and tactical excellence. Chemistry to me is about the honesty and the partnership. So knowing, honestly, for me, is that you can actually tell someone what they're good at and what they're not good at. Sometimes people misunderstand honesty for letting people know what they're not good at. But we did have some great dribblers in our team. And honesty for me was also, if you're a midfielder, you receive a pass all the time from the dribbler, you tell that player, you know, you are a world-class dribbler. So you take, you know, the defenders on. You take the defenders on, because if you don't, we got a better passer sitting on the bench. So don't pass the ball. Like, you need to take them on. That's honesty to me. And then the partnerships is about knowing the ones around you, to make sure that if it's, you know, a great dribbler, then you might be a little bit closer, because they might lose the ball or might take, you know, the opposition away. So you do create a one-on-one. Know what they're good at, but also supporting their strength and weaknesses. So that's it about the chemistry. The tactical excellence, again, it's not too important, but just know that when players are in the national team, they got, like, they're super smart people, and they know all these different models. We call them different names so we can actually add it. We added two new models in my time as a head coach. We didn't play too much of one of them because 5 is too many. But if you look at the game right now, how it's played at the highest level in Europe, then you can see the flexibility of the fluidity. They don't go like in models. They might have a different starting point. The fullback might play on the inside. And so we wanted to add that a little bit, but also knowing this was a national team. It's not a club team. You cannot coach them like 600 or 300 days a year. You got like 5 sessions, and then you need to perform. So just a little bit insight on what it means by tactical excellence. But this was something that I was putting a lot of attention into when I talked about, or when I reflected on my impactful leadership. How can I create a team spirit that's beyond everything else? For me, like when we talk about team spirit, it's being connected in some way, like having very, very strong relationships with the one you're in. It's like if you look at this, the playbook, once again, it's a documentary, or kind of documentary. It's a series on Netflix, but it's on coaches who have coached very successful teams. And it seems like it's always almost an extended family. So sometimes when we speak about, or when you hear this around team spirit, it's patting each other on the back. It's not being, full of conflict. But if that's an extended family, you know what your family is like. Flowers and sunshine all the time. There's definitely some different bumps on the road that you need to sort out. But again, like creating that kind of environment. So what was important for me to do that is I called these 5 guys in because I needed more leaders. There's no doubt that that when I went into the head coach role, as you can hear, not being fluently in English, and also being new, I needed someone on the team, on the pitch, to actually support me. And then I actually do mean that if you're a coach and you're standing on the sideline, the impact you have on the pitch is very limited. You choose the team, you do the substitutions, and you prepare the team like leading into the game. But during the game, it's the players on the pitch that have the biggest impact. And then sometimes you can make a miraculous substitution. But so I needed my leaders on the team. So obviously, if you go from right, Christine Sinclair, like I know she's, have scored insanely of goal and got the record. Beyond that, she's a fantastic person, like so humble that you wouldn't believe it. Again, it's a person first for me. Desiree Scott, like the destroyer in the midfield, like she would tackle anyone that has said anything to any of our players. Like Diana Matheson, I don't know if she is a CEO. If she's not, she will become one for sure, because she's smart, she's brilliant, she's very good in communication and stuff. Khadija, super smart as well. Like she leads so subtle, and when she speaks, people listen. Like every time she speaks, she's not the most vocal person in our team. I still say our team, in the Canadian team. But when she speaks, people pay attention. And then Alicia Chapman, who is a character that on the pitch, will tackle anyone. I can still remember at the Rio Olympics, she wanted to continue playing. She had a torn ligament in her shoulder. She wanted to play the match after, and she tried to take like throw-ins, but she couldn't. But she wanted to play. So that's what you bring. So I gathered these 5, and then I said, you need me to help lead this team. You got a big responsibility to lead this team. And we're not just, the difference between a team and a group of individuals is making sure that we've got a common goal that gives us identity, and then we thrive, or we drive towards that goal. So they needed to be the leaders of the team together with me, and just to support that every single time we came into camp, we sat down and we had a conversation with them. So ask them the question, so what are your role in this camp? What are your goals? What are you going to achieve? How can we support you? So simultaneously, while we wanted them to have an impact on the team, we also tried to educate them a little bit about being a leader. So, coming out of their career, going into the next, they might have some knowledge already about, theoretical leadership. So that was not me, that was Alex Hutchins and Robbie Gill. And by the way, if you guys have a chance to work with them, please do, because they're fantastic. So anyway, I said, you are the leader group, but I definitely also acted on it, inviting them in. So what about set pieces? How do you think we should approach the game? So not just saying it, but definitely also doing it. Just knowing that this is super, super, super important. So you can have all kind of strategies, both, you know, on a three. Just gonna define who you are as a team and as an athlete. So I did that. Then, because for me it's people first, and when you come into a national team camp, then you know you come in, you got like four sessions, 4 days. You have individual one-on-one where you talk about the game, give them some role clarity. You got team sessions, you got team meetings, you got staff meetings, you got press conferences and stuff. And if you're a people first kind of leader, then we didn't have the room to actually just connect, just to, you know, chat. How's the family? By the way, how's school? How did you get here? Are you still afraid of flying? And that's important to me. And I needed to show that to them, that, you know, them as people were far more important to me than them as players. And also just having a room for them to actually sit in, and also for them to connect, and also to support them in the people's first. So this is just to say it was a few of these things that we did, just to quote on Simon Sinek, right? So good leadership is an accumulation of lots and lots of different things. That in itself is useless, but if you do it consistently and in combination with lots of other little things, it's powerful. So creating a Canada room had absolutely no impact in itself. Creating a leadership group had an impact for sure in itself, but far beyond if you add something that actually created a culture in the team that, you know, grow towards the common goal. So even though it could seem like it's useless in itself, it's a consistency, and it's all the different things that also adds to good leadership, not only by me, but also by the leadership group. So that was a little bit about what impactful leadership is to me. Now, the final thing I want to speak a little bit about is what does it take to become an impactful leader? Again, I have read, but it's more like it's my conception on impactful leadership and what that is about. So first of all, I also want to ask you this, because I do believe it's something that you either have experienced self, or maybe see in your club or in your team or wherever. So are you a leader, or do you have followership? For me, it's a massive difference. Well, for you guys as well, I know that. But I've looked it up, and apparently it's called crests, the things you've got on your shoulder. So, you know, you can lead as long as you got the crests. If you got the title, you can lead. That's leadership. But if you want to have followers, that's something totally different. So how can you create followers? Because it doesn't come with rank. Leadership comes with the rank. Followers doesn't. So how can you create an environment? How can you, you know, carry yourself being loyal to your own either values or concepts? Every single time you see them, you step on the pitch, they don't see you, then you'll have followership, in my book. And then this is just getting some kind of leadership degree myself, but again, because I'm very curious, not about the degree, but about, you know, can I learn something? And I definitely will learn something. But leadership today is about unlearning management. It's so much hits the what is it called? The head on the nail on the head for me, because it's about relearning being human, being interested in other human being. Not just following a rule book or a recipe. I need to ask you about this and that. Being interested in other people. That is what leadership today is about to me. This guy is from Volkswagen. But when I read, I think it was he was quoted in an article, and then I tried to look it up, and it was right there. It was exactly, what I mean as well. You can learn something in reading a book, but leadership is definitely something about being very, very human. So for me, impactful leadership, I want to go through these like headline as well as to end my presentation. First of all, is something about being aligned, and that is something that you do and you bring yourself in. So Jurgen Klopp is a very successful soccer coach in Liverpool. As I showed you, he won the Champions League, or Liverpool won the Champions League in 2020, like last year. I believe also last year they became the champions in England. And like these managers, you don't really know, because you don't get a lot of insight. You can read their biography and you can get inspired by that. But I attended a sit down with him, a video conference like this one, and he said, like, before signing a player, like they looked at them, they did the scouting. So they had a lot of like the first scout and then all the way to the senior scout, and they were looked at so many times. But he said, before we sign an agreement, I get rid of the agent and I sit down with the player and sometimes the player's parents, and we talk about everything but football. Like football is not a part of the conversation. And then I ask him, so what can I expect of you? And then he adds this, and then I tell them what they can expect of me. I think the last piece is something that's super important for us to remember as coaches as well, because we learn that we need to encompass everyone. We need to be so-and-so like acceptable, but there are some non-negotiables. And to make sure that they know that up front, like this is me, this is who I am, this is what I stand for. That's alignment to me. Like making sure that that is aligned. If you can agree on these terms, you can sign. And I like that approach about not just asking the player, so what can I expect of you, but this is what you can expect from me as well. Then it's being authentic. Like again, you might say, well, he has been reading some management book, and yes, I have, but I also experience or hear people speaking about authenticity. I won't say that's right or wrong, but it has nothing to do with authenticity in my book. So, when they carry their emotions on their sleeves and they go like, well, I'm grumpy, and you go, well, can you potentially carry yourself a little bit better? No, because I'm authentic. I'm, this is who I am. This is my emotions. Should I not be myself? And that has nothing to do with authenticity for me. Authenticity is exactly, this about my concepts. Again, it's not values, but being very loyal to my concepts throughout all my moods, all your moods as well. So these mood swings have nothing to do with it. With authenticity. And just to give you a little insights, and when you look up something about emotions, and something you should be aware of as leaders as well, how much they drive behaviors in the office. So you might think you're a great leader and all that, but if you're not paying attention to the mood, then you might lose the grip on the office or the team or the pitch or the gymnasium or wherever you work. So be very much aware of what's happening with the mood. So I looked into a research, and I did the graph, right? It's not taken out of that, and it was an article in a journal I believe was pretty recognized. So it wasn't like it wasn't like a magazine, and it was the it should be like the sun, like how many hours the sun was shining, or how much sun that was actually on the town, the city that day, and then the stock market performance. There shouldn't be any kind of recurrence or correspondence between the two, but there is across 26 countries. And so they concluded that if you're actually experiencing sun, and then you get in a great mood, that will have an impact on the stock market. And just believe, that the mood and the impact it can have on the high performance that you get into the to the environment, or the opposite? And then you go, well, let's coach in Florida. It's much easier, but maybe you can impact the mood a little bit better than just the sun, or you can impact the mood. And then I just found this quote as well. So I call this just the emotional pot, because of what this Daniel Goleman said. So apparently we got these mirror neurons in the frontal lobe. And what he says is the continual interplay of mirror neurons among members of a group creates a kind of emotional soup, with everyone adding their bit of flavor. And here comes the interesting part. But it's the leader who adds the strongest seasoning. Why? Because everyone watches the boss. So once again, like, being authentic have absolutely nothing to do with getting away with being a moody kind of leader. And you do have an impact that do add some seasoning, or do add some flavor to the performance, because you put it in this emotional pot and you put in the strongest flavor. So when you meet at work and when you meet the team, you better be ready. Like, you better be very, very loyal to your labels or values or whatever, and don't bring the bad mood if you expect a high performance from the team. And then something about being thorough as well. Again, this is definitely it's an example also from what I experienced, but I do believe it's important. And then you go, well, I'm always thorough. Yes, I know that most of us are, but also just an example. So for instance, when we come into to camps, more often than not, we always have one-on-ones with all the players. So I still say we, and we still have. I'm not the coach anymore. Anyway, so we did. Well, they still do. So anyway, we do sit down with the players before every match, and we go through. This is before we play Japan. So this is Jessie Fleming sitting down with her. We got a video with her being at her very, very best. We're playing Japan. This is the role if you get in, blah, blah, blah. And then this is the next match, and we look a little bit ahead over here, where like should be in the back there is the Olympics. So we talk about the game, and then we talk to the player, and we prepare them. For instance, you're starting the game. This is your role. This is where we see you can have an impact on the game. This is the opposition we might expect you playing against. These are the sessions we're having going into to the match. And then just knowing that if you go into a World Cup, you got 23 players. So you can only start 11. So you've got 12 players not starting. And we don't call them substitutes, we call them finishers, because we need them to be ready to actually go on the pitch and finish the job. And we got exactly the same kind of meeting with our finishers. Why? Well, because things can happen. So this is Rio in 2016, and Shelina Zadorsky was sent off in the 25th minute or something. We were 1-0 up, and I think Shelina played every single match going into to the Olympics. She was a core member of our team, and 25 minutes in, you're sent off, so you're gonna miss the 65 minutes of that match, and then you're gonna miss two more matches in the group stage. However, we were thorough. We had sat down with Quinn and go through her role, so she could come in on 3 different positions, playing instead of Khadija if something was happening to her, playing instead of Shelina if something was happening to her, playing instead of Desiree. So, and then we asked, we had her prepared for how would Australia potentially finish, and 65 minutes, that's a long way to finish. But if you're one man down, you have already prepared, that player for the team being under pressure. So this about being thorough, don't just scratch the surface and, connect in with your core players, or don't connect in only with the starting 11 or the starting whatever, depending on your team. Don't only, go through the lead therapist, also connect in, with the other therapist as well, because all of a sudden your lead therapist, she's gone, she's sick, she's whatever. So be thorough in everything that you do. And then be focused. For me, that's important for us to understand as leaders. I made the error myself. I made like super many errors. So sometimes I don't know if I sound like I'm flawless. I'm not, but I have made this mistake of looking into, I want to lead the organization. How can I impact the organization? And you look so far ahead. Important stuff that sits right in front of you because you want to be an organizational leader. And that's where I go, well, you know what? First, start to lead yourself. And that's how to manage your thoughts, behaviors, and actions. And then how to do it, it's about the sleep you get, the quality of sleep, the exercise you get, what you eat, and how you plan. Now, everyone here knows that, but who does it? Again, I have definitely not been doing it all my life, but I do now, and I did when I was in Canada as well. So here my kids get up at 7, so 5:30 I do run 7 or 10 Ks every morning. I do eat healthy and I do block time. So this is something I've been doing since I worked as a psychologist, because my door was always open, but I needed to block time where I can reflect. For me, every Monday, every Friday, I've got like 2 hours in, and it's mine. It's not where I go and mourning the grass, or I'm going and chit-chatting. I'm actually reflecting. I put in, I want to read this book. I want to go for a walk. I want to walk and talk with someone, but it's for me, it's my reflection time. I encourage you very much to book it. And then you go like, well, I'm a leader, so many things are happening. I don't have the time to exercise. Yes, you do. You don't just prioritize it. I don't have the time to block time. Yes, you do. You just don't prioritize it. So you do have the time to do all these things. You do have the opportunities to do, like, eat healthy, but do you do it? And that's about self-management to me. And you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others or the organization. And then just this around, like, looking from the outside and then into Canada, but also looking from Canada and then into Denmark, just to give you a little insight in the cultural differences that are so crucial. When I speak about being a cultural leader, that's also often need to respect the culture as well. Sorry, something is coming up. You need to respect the culture in the country or in the province as well. That's what I've learned coming to Canada. Like, your country, my second country, is massive. It's huge. Like, going from one province to another is like traveling for a day. And knowing that, French-speaking provinces and all that stuff that you need to get, you need to have an insight in to understand the culture of our country, also understand the culture of a team. But just to give you some insights and some of the differences that I experienced coming to Canada. It's hard to say how to impact it, but this is Denmark, right? It's 1/25 of Ontario in the size. When we go from from a part of the country to the other, then we go like all the way here. It takes us 4 hours and 30 minutes by car, and we do not get a speeding ticket. So does it have an impact on the culture? Oh, yes, it has, because the differences in Denmark aren't massive. It's not huge. We don't have a massive geography, so the differences are not there. We have got some other issues, but we definitely don't have a lot of differences between provinces or between massive geographies. And then what I experienced coming over to Canada as well, or give you some little insight into Denmark. So in Denmark, when you're 18, actually when you're 16, and you study, you get paid. You get paid by the government. If you go to college, university, you get paid by the government. Now, if I'm a soccer coach, it has a massive impact. Some of the talents I've seen grown up in Canada, US as well, they are definitely doing everything they can to be very skillful at their sport. But it's, for some of them, it's getting that scholarship to go to the university, and that's where their career stops. That they just got everything they needed. because it's a career path for them as well, like going into universities that, you know, you just can't pay. Then, you know, if you're good enough at the game, you go into university and that's taken care of. In Denmark, you get paid to go into university. So if you continue playing, because you have got ambitions to play in the national team, not saying one is better than the other, it's just a cultural differences, because you get people there playing for different reasons. Then mat leave, we got 9 months of paid mat leave. And then just on the pricing, for getting into community sports. Both my daughters played in Canada. Like great, they loved it. But when we came back, we decreased the amount of money we put into the game by 9/10, meaning that we only paid 1/10 of what we did in Canada. So the group of players, I know that every one of you knows this, that it's expensive to do leisure sport, but it does have an impact on culture. It does have an impact on the players you get into a group, because most of them come from families that are well funded. So here in Denmark, you can actually go into a club and it doesn't cost you a lot. And sometimes that's exactly where the social relation, the camaraderie, especially with players, girls and boys coming from a family with low incomes, they meet, you know, friends, and they get a relationship with great coaches, great mentors, and so on and so forth. So that's also some difference. I look at the time, because I am at the end of my presentation. So hopefully it wasn't too either boring or self-centered or whatever, but I think it's important, and if I can inspire you in some way of actually looking back on the events and experiences that brought you to where you're at, what you bring as a leader into your role, because I'm very clear that I know exactly what brought me to, you know, who I am and what I bring in my leadership. If it's impactful, I don't know, but I'm very much sure that this is me. This is what I'm bringing. So I want to finish with the last picture here, because this was the last picture I showed the players. I know they're qualified. Gonna be the biggest fan this summer for this team to have success. Yeah, looking very much forward to follow that team and Team Canada. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kenneth. I'm just going to jump in quickly. We have one question in the chat. So the question is, a national level coach once said to me that a high performance level, your role isn't to lead, but to facilitate and enable leadership to others. He said leadership is a word that is overglorified. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I totally agree. I think so. That's what I mean about the group of leaders, or the leadership group as well. So leadership is something that a team should have, or players and you know, teammates of team sports should have. You're definitely a leader because, you know, by word, it is me who select the team. It is me who selects who's going to be on the team. So that means I'm a leader, but I'm not a leader in that sense that the question goes towards. That's definitely more for a team to do.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, Ken.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Kenneth, for joining us today and sharing your knowledge with our sport community here in Atlantic Canada. Just looking at some of the words that you put out there, the one that really resonates with me is passion. It's certainly something that's contagious for people that you're working with, and too often we're surrounded often by people who aren't as passionate about sport as we tend to be as coaches. But I also, you know, lots of wisdom there. We appreciate your contributions to Canadian soccer and wish you the best in your exploits back in Denmark.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'd like to thank, in closing, all of the speakers who committed their time and were open to sharing their experiences with us in Atlantic Canada. Most of all, we'd like to thank each and every one of you coaches for taking time out of your week to join us for this year's Atlantic Coaching Conference. We recognize that it's been an amazingly difficult year for everybody, not only in sport, but personally across the region, across the country, and around the world. It will form a shared experience, though, that hopefully we'll be able to build from in the future. We do applaud all of you for your efforts to make sport available and appreciate your tireless efforts that you've made over this past difficult year through COVID. The commitment you've shown has been incredible. And we've seen right across Atlantic Canada a large increase in people being engaged in coaching efforts, especially certification. We've seen those numbers grow over the pandemic year. So again, we appreciate your efforts on continuous learning. The conference and the professional development attendance number highlight the commitment that we're making to coaching. I believe there's over 300 at the end of the day who signed up for the conference and attended at least one of the sessions. The other things we've learned over the last 13 months is how to be more flexible, innovative, and committed. And through that, we've given our youth a great opportunity to continue with their physical and mental health for coaching or through sport. So once again, I want to thank you all for attending. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and I'll turn it over to Kirsty for some final remarks.
Great, thank you, Ken, and I'll echo everything that Ken was saying. Thank you so much to our presenters, and thank you, Kenneth, for an awesome keynote to wrap up a great 2 days of learning from all of you. And thank you again, coaches, for your attendance. We really appreciate it, especially for those that are in lockdown right now. We really appreciate you coming online and taking your time to learn. So if you didn't have the chance to attend all of the sessions, or you happened to miss some, or your connection wasn't great, we did record a majority of them and they will be posted on our YouTube channel. So keep an eye out for that, and we will be sending links to those as well. And we also want to thank you for your engagement on our Whova conference app. This was our first time using Whova, and we are overwhelmed by the amount of participation on it and the amount of great discussions happening on there. And we encourage you guys to take that offline and continue these discussions with coaches across the Atlantic provinces. But as you'll see on the leaderboard, we have a winner of the most participation, and they will win a $50 gift card to Cleves. So the winner is Jeff Ward. So Jeff, we will be in contact with you and we will award you with your $50 gift card. So as we wrap up this conference, we will be sending out a feedback survey, which we will use to design next year's conference. So please take a couple minutes to complete this in as much detail as possible. And when you complete the survey, we will be asking for your mailing address. And the reason for that is that you will be receiving a coach mask. So it's a black mask and it says coach on it. And I have mine, I always wear it coaching, and I encourage you guys to do the same. So when you complete the survey, put in your mailing address and we'll send those to you as soon as possible. If you're interested in continuing to develop and attend professional development sessions as a coach, we have National Coaches Week happening again in September, from September 18th to 26th. So this week always brings lots of new professional development sessions, free e-learning opportunities on the locker through the Coaching Association of Canada. And we plan to host sessions again. Last year we did an Atlantic virtual conference, so we plan to do that as well. Or if in person, we'll do some sessions then too. Another friendly reminder of our podium performance sessions. So that calendar will be launched in August 2021, and the sessions will run monthly from September to April. So keep your eyes peeled on the CAC locker calendar. Another professional development opportunity, which is also posted in Whova, so you can check it out there as well. It's the CAC's Sport Leadership Conference. So it is virtual and it's free, so it's accessible to anyone in the country. And they will have a community coaching stream this year. So stay tuned for more information, but ensure that you block those couple days in your calendar. And last but not least, we want to remind you that we will be back in April 2022 for an Atlantic Coaches Conference. Dates will be posted as soon as they're available, but it will be happening around this time of the year, and so a year from now. And that brings us to the end. So thank you so much, everyone. We hope you have a wonderful summer season. And for those of you that are coaching this season, good luck with your athletes, teams, and programs. We'll see you next year. Thank you.
Bye, coaches.
Hi, everybody. Go enjoy the sun.
Kirsty, that was awesome, and